Senator Cash.
Mr Acting Deputy President, well, all I can say is that the answers given in question time today to the questions that were asked by the opposition and the comments that have just been made by those on the other side, they confirm without a doubt that this is a government that, when it comes to the issue of the carbon tax, is devoid of any moral compass. Devoid of any moral compass. This is a government that, by its announcement after the election that it will be imposing a carbon tax on the Australian public, has completely, totally and utterly betrayed the Australian people. But the thing is, Mr Acting Deputy President, you'd actually expect nothing less from those on the other side, because the Gillard government will always take the cheap political option when it comes to making policy in this country, rather than actually take decisions that are in the national interest. And when Senator Carol Brown refers to comments that have been made by those of us on this side of the chamber in relation to the carbon tax, you need to be very, very careful. Because let's have a look at the comments that the Prime Minister of Australia made in relation to the carbon tax. Julia Gillard claimed there will be no carbon tax under the government I lead. Channel 10 on the 16th of August 2010. And then the now Prime Minister could not help herself. The day before the election, the Australian newspaper quotes the Prime Minister as saying, "I rule out a carbon tax." Does it get any more blatant than what the Prime Minister, the now Prime Minister, said, having categorically ruled out a carbon tax before the election on the 21st of August 2010, lo and behold, she's now done a deal with the Independents and a deal with the Greens, and guess what? The promises she made prior to the election are all off the table. The promises that she made to the people of Australia, the promises that they went to the ballot box and voted on, they are all off the table, and guess what? I am now introducing a carbon tax. That is, without a doubt, one of the greatest betrayals that the people of Australia have ever and will ever be subjected to. But I have to say, Mr Acting Deputy President, you would actually expect nothing less from those on the other side. Because the reality is, the imposition of this tax is one of political choice, certainly not environmental necessity. Australians understand that Prime Minister Gillard, consistent with left-wing ideology, has never seen a tax that she doesn't like, and one that, if in existence, she can't hike. The reality for Australians is that during the Labor Party's time in office, that government, the Labor government, has actually whacked onto Australians 13 new and increased taxes. 13 of them. And they've only been in office for about 3 years. That's a new tax every quarter. That's the way they make policy on that side of the chamber. The option of first choice always has to be tax the Australian people, because the government, the Labor government, forgets they're not actually spending their own money, they're spending taxpayers' money. And taxpayers have a right to be informed before they go to the ballot box if a government, when it is elected, is actually going to impose another tax on them. And what are Australians now faced with? They're faced with the reality that the price of the Prime Minister's betrayal will be paid by them every single day once this is implemented. Every time they turn their lights on, every time they go to the petrol bowser, every time they use their gas, every time they go to the shop to buy groceries, every time they touch everything. Everything in this country that the mums and dads of Australia touch will be tainted by this tax.